couple were having trouble conceiving a child, so they went to a doctor. He examined them and concluded that the problem was one of insufficient penetration. He suggested to the man that they try the rear entry position. The man said, "What is that?" The doctor replied, "Just watch the dogs and do like they do." The man said, "My wife is very shy and she won't do that." The doctor replied, "Try giving her a glass of wine or two and she will lose all inhibition." Some while later, the doctor met the man pushing a stroller. "I see it worked," the doctor said. "Yes, it did, doc. But now the problem is my wife is an alcoholic." "How did that happen?" the doctor asked. "Well, every time we did it, it took 7 or 8 drinks just to get her out into the front garden." Annoyed by the professor of anatomy, who liked to tell naughty stories during class, a group of female students decided that the next time he started to tell one, they would all rise and leave the room in protest. The professor, however, got wind of their scheme just before class the following day, so he bided his time. Then, halfway through the lecture, he began. "They say there's quite a shortage of in France." The girls looked at one another, arose and started for the door. "Young ladies," said the professor with a broad smile, "the next plane doesn't leave until tomorrow afternoon." Man lies on his deathbed surrounded by his family, a weeping wife and 5 children. 4 of the children are tall, good-looking, and athletic, but the 5th and the youngest is an ugly runt. "Darling wife," the husband whispers, "assure me that the youngest child really is mine. I want to know the truth before I die. I will forgive you if..." The wife gently interrupts him. "Yes, my dear, absolutely no question. I swear on my mother's grave that you are his father." The man dies happy. The wife mutters under her breath, "Thank God he didn't ask me about the other 4. A man goes to a restaurant and orders a chicken dish. By the time the food is ready and he's about to eat, the waiter comes back and says, "Sir, I'm afraid there has been a mistake. You see, that police officer who is sitting at the next table is a regular customer of ours, and he usually orders the chicken dish. The problem is, this is the last chicken in the house. I'm afraid I'll have to take this dish to him and arrange for another dish for you." The guy gets really upset and refuses to give up his food. The waiter walks over to the other table and explains the situation to the officer. A few minutes later, the officer walks over to the man's table and says, "Listen, and listen good. That is my chicken you're about to eat, and I'll warn you. Whatever you do to that chicken, I'll do the same to you. You pull out one of its legs, I'll pull out one of yours. You break one of its wings, I'll break one of your arms." The man calmly looks at the chicken, then sticks his middle finger in the bird's rectum, pulls it out and licks it. He then gets up, drops his pants, bends over and says, "Go ahead." The guy has been asking the prettiest girl in town for a date, and finally she agrees to go out with him. He takes her to a nice restaurant and buys her the gourmet dinner with expensive wine. On the way home, he pulls over to the side of the road in a secluded spot. They start necking and he's getting pretty excited. He starts to reach under her skirt and she stops him, saying she's a virgin and wants to stay that way. "Well, okay," he says. "How about a blowjob?" "Yuck," she screams. "I'm not putting that thing in my mouth." He says, "Well, then how about a job?" "I've never done that," she says. "What do I have to do?" "Well," he answers, "remember when you were a kid and you used to shake up a Coke bottle and spray your brother with it?" She nods. "Well, it's just like that." So he pulls it out and she grabs hold of it and starts shaking it. A few seconds later, his head flops back on the hardest. His eyes close. Snot starts to run out of his nose. Wax blows out of his ear and he screams out in pain. "What's wrong?" she cries out. "Take your thumb off the end." He returns home early from work one afternoon to find his wife spread out on the bed, puffing and panting. "What are you doing?" the man inquires. She stammers back. I think I'm having a heart attack." "Oh," cries the gullible husband. "Quick, I'll call an ambulance." He runs downstairs, picks up the phone and begins dialing 911. When his son, little Johnny, appears, sobbing his little heart out. "What's the matter, son?" asks the father. "Uncle James is in the closet with no clothes on, Daddy," replied his tearful toddler. Enraged, the man runs back upstairs, flings open the wardrobe and finds his brother there absolutely naked, just as his son had said. "You bastard, Jim," screams the man. "My wife is over there having a heart attack and you're running around naked, scaring Johnny." Little boy goes to his dad and asks, "What is politics?" Dad says, "Well, son, let me try to explain it this way. I'm the breadwinner of the family, so let's call me capitalism. Your mom, she's the administrator of the money, so we'll call her the government. We are here to take care of your needs, so we'll call you the people. The nanny, we'll consider her the working class. And your baby brother, we will call him the future. Now think about that and see if that makes sense." So the little boy goes off to bed thinking about what Dad has said. Later that night, he hears his baby brother crying, so he gets up to check on him. He finds that the baby has dirtied his diaper, so the little boy goes to his parents' room and finds his mother sound asleep. Not wanting to wake her, he goes to the nanny's room. Finding the door locked, he peeks in the keyhole and sees his father in bed with the nanny. He gives up and goes back to bed. The next morning, the little boy says to his father, "Dad, I think I understand the concept of politics now." The father says, "Good son, tell me in your own words. What do you think? What do you think politics is all about?" The little boy replies, "Well, while capitalism is the working class, the government is sound asleep, the people are being ignored, and the future is in deep A little girl and a little boy were at the park with their pants pulled down. The little girl asked the little boy, "What is that?" And the little boy said, "I don't know." Then the little boy asked the little girl the same thing and she said she didn't know. So that night, the little girl asked her mom and her mom said, "That's your garage, and you must not let any big trucks go in." Meanwhile, at the little boy's house, the little boy asked his dad what it was, and his dad said, "That's your big truck, and you must not park it in any garage." The next day, the boy and the girl pulled their pants down again, but this time the girl went home with blood on her hands. Her mom screamed and asked why she had blood on her hands. The girl said, "The boy tried to put his big truck in my garage, so I pulled his two back tires off."